So overall, would I recommend EF as a travel agency and all of that? Short answer. All right, so you're wondering whether or not you should book a trip with EF, specifically highlights of Japan? Well, you've come to the right place because my name is Stephanie and I just recently went with my friends back in October, and this is a full in-depth review. I'm going to be covering the cost of the trip, what it includes. I'll be talking about the expenses of what I spent. I'll be sharing that. I'll also be sharing my experience being out there with tattoos because I heard so much that Japan is conservative and sometimes refuse services to people who have tattoos, so I'll be talking about that. I'll also be talking about what I would be doing differently. I'll also be talking about the negatives and my horrible experience, and hopefully I could save some of you from having to deal with what I did when I went. And I'll also be talking about whether or not I would recommend EF for this trip, right? But before we get started, I just want to say that I'm not affiliated with EF. I'm not sponsored by EF. I don't work for EF. This is just my review. This is just my personal experience that I wanted to share for those of you who want to go and do your research, because this is a lot of money. I'm on their website right now. It looks like they're on sale anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000, depending whether or not you decide to book your flights with them, which we'll go into depth about it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm on their website right now. Let's look at their prices right now. So for January, it looks like $4,200. March, $4,000. Yeah, it looks like mostly $4,000. May, it looks like $3,000. May, $3,000. Yeah, I don't know what the seasons are for May over there, but it looks like it's pretty popular and cheap right now. If for any of you who want to go. Again, I went in October, so let's go ahead and scroll down. Let's see how much it cost. Again, I don't really like these prices, and I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to change the airport. So I live in California. Sacramento and San Francisco are like the two preferred airports for me. So I'm going to type in Sacramento because that's where I had flown out from. Look at that. So if I were to book right now, it would actually cost me $5,183 if they decide to book the flights for me, right? If I book my own, okay, now that's more respectable, right? $3,729, not that bad. I'm gonna show you guys right here the breakdown of everything. So the trip itself that I ended up paying, now this is going to include the flights, okay? Because when I booked it, I let EF book my flights, meaning I'm not gonna look for the airline, I'm not gonna look for what time I'm flying out. They're handling all of that. They're just gonna send me the flight information. I just have to be there at that time. That's it. So that's what this includes. I paid $5,098. Let's see what that gets us, right? So again, that includes my flight, round trip. That includes 12 nights in hand-picked accommodations, 12 breakfasts, 4 dinners. Of course, you have your tour guide with you, 24/7 support. You're going to have different local guides because you go to different temples and shrines. And so depending on which one they take you, you'll have a guide there, and they'll be talking about the history and the culture and all of that. You have, of course, the entrances to the shrines, temples, and other local attractions. Now, what I spent out there that was not included will also be food, because, of course, you're not always going to have lunch in here, right? Or sometimes maybe you have different plans and maybe you just don't go as a group. So that happens as well. So me and my friends, this amount right here, $2,152, is going to include food that's not included in this price down here. It's going to include transportation, which this is going to vary based on how you guys want to, but on your free days, I'd imagine you guys are going to want to go out and adventure. Me and my friends mostly use the train system, so we're mostly on a train. However, there were other days that I guess you could say I kind of ditched them because they weren't interested in what I wanted to do, so I kind of just went and ditched shopping elsewhere and all that stuff. So I Ubered for those, okay? So for Uber, I ended up paying a total of $228, but this price is going to include, I had to Uber from my house to the airport, which that cost me close to $100. I think it was like $90 with the tip. So, and so I was in Japan. I ended up Ubering like 5 times. I noticed on average, it was around $30, okay? Around $30 each time I would Uber. So that kind of racked up the transportation for me, right? While I was out there, I also ended up paying for the excursion, the kimono excursion. I paid it while I was out there because this kind of correlates into the next topic, which is tattoos. I heard that Japan is conservative, where sometimes they refuse services to you if you have tattoos. And so I didn't know if that was one of them, if they would let me do that. So I didn't have any issues. I didn't have problems. Neither did my friends. I have more tattoos out of all of them, so I'm like covered. I have sleeves. I also have like almost a half leg sleeve, so it's kind of hard to hide that, right? So I just want to talk a little bit about that. So right here, I'm going to try to leave this as spoil free. So everything I'm going to show you is what EF has on their website because I don't want to spoil it for people, right? So right here in this shrine, this is where you have the option to wear kimonos and walk through. I enjoyed the kimono experience. Mind you, though, you'll probably change after an hour, hour and a half, because the sandals they give you are uncomfortable. The other thing as well, like you wear it's kind of like a crochet. I might be saying that wrong, but it's hard to breathe a little bit. And also, if you actually want to explore the entire shrine when you're here, there's an area that's like a dirt path going upslope. Not possible to walk in the sandals and the attire that you have. So you can always go back, change, and then go back to the shrine because it's in walking distance. If that's something what you want to do, but I thought it's worth mentioning if you don't want to miss out on things, or if you don't really care, because by this point, like you've already, I don't know, we've seen there's so many shrines and temples, like you'll just lose track, right? So there's that. That cost me, I think, I want to say it was between $80 to $100. I can't remember because I paid up front there and I paid yen. I paid yen to the lady. I'm not going to go into full detail of the itinerary because, again, it's listed on their website. I would imagine you probably already read through it. But on here, it should say something about wearing kimonos. Yeah, I don't see where it's at, but there's an option to, wear kimonos for the day when you're at that shrine. So there's that. These prices here, what doesn't include this down here, you're going to want to add $22 because when you land in Japan, you need to charge your Suica card. If you know what Suica card is, it's the card that you use to pay for transportation using the train. $22 is what you need specifically for the trip and when the tour guide takes you to these other places. But if you're going to be using the train system on your free days, it's going to be more than $22. So I want to say me and my friends probably spent closer to, because I charge it like 3 times, so I want to say I probably spent around $60 for transportation is more accurate for me because on the free days we're using the train a lot, So there's that. When I originally went with $350 in cash. My United card is my credit card. I used my credit card a lot while I was out there because I didn't know if there's going to be certain places that only required cash. So I was using my credit cards a lot. There were also 0 foreign transaction fees for the credit card that I had, which is the United one that I have. So that's the expense of that. While I was out there, I did withdraw another $350. Again, that's going to be included in this price down here, $2,152. On one of the free days, we went to Team Labs, and I think I want to mention this to any of you who are thinking of going to Team Labs. There's 2, okay? There's 2 different ones. The one that we went, the one that's popular, the one that most tourists go, is Team Labs Planets. Okay? That's this one. For me, personally, it was probably one of the best highlights of the trip. Like, I really enjoyed it. What you see there is just, you have to experience it. Like, it's out of this world, okay? Now, there's Team Labs Borderless. So, this one, there's not as many tourists, from what I heard, that go to this one here. Not too many people know about Borderless. And it's also supposedly less packed. So if you're trying to go to a different spot that maybe, again, this one, let's see. Yeah, and you can tell just based off the reviews. Oh, I'm on TripAdvisor, but this has 91 reviews. Google over here has 35,000 reviews. I believe we ended up paying, I think it says on here, I think it was like 50 or 40 bucks. Oh, $23 on this website right here. I say it was worth the experience. We probably spent 2 hours there, I want to say. So that's what is going to be included here. Games, collectibles. So I didn't really buy too much out there, but what I did buy, I bought like a video game. I bought a couple things from the Nintendo store. So that's what, like, kind of the things that I purchased out there. Universal. I don't do what I did, okay? I ended up buying my ticket the night before, and I don't know if it was issues with the app or the fact that I purchased it so late, but I wasn't able to get a early time slot to get into Nintendo Land. It didn't actually let me select a time slot until after the person at the gate scanned my ticket. The earliest time they gave me was 8:45 p.m. Mind you, I think they open up at 8 in the morning. And so I got there 30 minutes after 8:30. And so I actually got through at like 9 in the morning. I wasn't able to get into Nintendo Land. I didn't wait till 8:45 p.m. because I was tired. It's not the end of the world, but I just want to I want to share my experience to prevent that from anyone who really wants to see it. There was a person in my group who said they were able to select their time slot like 3 weeks in advance. So that was kind of my fault, right? It wasn't the end of the world, but I just wanted to mention that, like, anything you want to reserve. For an example, like someone reserved to go eat dinner or lunch at the Monster Hunter restaurant. There's a restaurant out there. Monster Hunter is a huge thing, but you have to reserve. You can't just like walk in. Another thing that I want to get into. So just to clarify, this is extra money, okay? This $2,152 is not included. So total of everything that I spent is roughly $7,450, which I put phone bill because I also paid $10 a day with my phone company so I could have service out there. Is it possible to, and again right here I have my fun money budget. My budget was $100. No, not 100, 1,000, sorry. But I ended up going over it. It is possible to spend less. I want to say I spent maybe around $400 to $500 on gifts and things for people, because I did bring stuff back for my parents. I brought stuff back for my cousin. I brought stuff back for people, okay? So that was probably like $500, somewhere around there. It is possible to go out there with less, right? But you would have to obviously buy less. I want to get into tattoos. So the place that I was also concerned is right here, Hakone. When you're in Hakone, the hotel you stay at is like a traditional, it's called an onsen. An onsen is basically like a hot springs. It's a natural hot springs, but traditionally you're not allowed to bathe in there if you have tattoos. I have tattoos. A lot of us in the group had tattoos. Our tour guide had tattoos. She told us that, look, sometimes some people get kicked out, sometimes you don't. She was like, even if you only get to experience it or enjoy it for 10, 15 minutes, like just go for it, right? So me and my friends, we went at 10 p.m. at night, okay? They close at midnight. I highly suggest going later if you have tattoos. Of course, everyone's experience is going to be different, but from my understanding, you only get kicked out if someone who's there goes to the staff and complains about you. So if they don't complain about you, you're fine, you know? And so we got lucky. Me and my friends got lucky. We were able to experience the onsen. It was very relaxing. I highly recommend, you know, but unfortunately it's one of those things where like if someone complains, then you get kicked out. But, you know, overall, like a lot of us had tattoos. I enjoyed the experience. I thought it was cool. I didn't have any negative things to say really about having tattoos while in Japan, other than some people like will stare at you. But they could probably be staring at me because the way I look, and obviously I would probably stand out, and also because of my tattoos. All right, now we're gonna go into what would I do differently. Oh man, so this is the big one that I'm saving right now. Let's talk about flights, shall we? The flight to Japan was not bad. They had me flying from Sacramento to Seattle, 2 hours, 40 minutes layover. Okay, it's not that bad, right? And then from Seattle to Tokyo. Sorry. Not bad. Not bad. I don't really have a complaint about that. My complaint is on the way back, okay? Look at what they had me at. They had me flying from Osaka to Seoul, Korea. And I had a layover there for 3 hours and 25 minutes. Then from Seoul, Korea, I had to go to Los Angeles. Okay, and lay there for 2 hours and 40 minutes. And then from Los Angeles, then I fly to Sacramento. And mind you, I don't live in Sacramento, so I still have to drive home. At this point, I think it was like anywhere between 21 to 23 hours for me to get home, is what the app said. I don't know about you, but I cannot sleep sitting up. And my issue was that the night before the flight, Delta added a new flight. They added one from Seoul, Korea to San Francisco. So I didn't and it cut the flight time by 8 hours. 8 hours. Okay? And on the app, it said that I'd be saving $100 if I switched a flight. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'd rather fly to San Francisco than fly to Sacramento, cut down my time by 8 hours. It works out because my cousin's picking me up and he's closer to San Francisco. So I'm like, okay, cool. I try to change the flight information on the Delta app. It says you're not able to, whatever. So I ended up calling Delta. The agent tells me they're unable to change it since I booked through a travel agency, that they would have to do that on my behalf. Okay, fine. I call EF. I tell them I'm trying to change the flight because Delta added a new one. There's this one that costs $100 less. It's 8 hours less of flight time. Is it possible? Okay, let's put that request in. We'll call you if we're able to do that change for you. I was like, okay, fine. About 2 hours go by. I call EF again. I'm trying to follow up. They're like, okay, we're trying to look into it. 15 minutes go by. I think it's the manager who's calling me. I'm not really sure. It was some lady. I don't have her name. But it's not really her fault. But for whatever reason, she was telling me that on their end, it was going to cost me $1,000 more to change the flight. Okay, that's hard to believe when I literally have the Delta app telling me I'm saving $100 if I switch my flight to San Francisco. So, long story short, they didn't change my time, or they didn't change my flight, because I refused to pay an extra $1,000, which didn't make any sense. It took me 20 plus hours to get home. And mind you, I know other people that took longer to get home because a lot of people in our group came from Florida. Trust me, dude, I felt so bad for those people. I live in California, so, at least I guess, at least I wasn't those people. But I don't know how long it was going to take for them to get home, but my whole thing is, had I knowing what I know now, I would have booked my flights myself. I have information on here. I'll display it on the screen here for you guys. I checked Delta to see how much it is if you decide to book it yourself. I checked United to see how much if you book it yourself. Of course, there's more airlines. You can do the research yourself, but United seemed very, very good. And I think there was only one stop off. Or I think there's even one that's like a direct flight. I could be wrong, but it was a nightmare. Like, if you have nothing else better to do and you don't really care about flight time, then you could disregard everything I'm saying. But for most of us, you probably ran out of PTO already. And or you just don't like flying in general. Like, a lot of people don't like to fly. For me, it's more about, I just want to get home. I just dread every time I go out on a trip. The way back home always sucks. It's never fun. So if I could shorten the time however I can, I will, but it just sucks. I don't think it was a huge deal for EF to be able to switch it, but they weren't able to switch it. So, and also Japan is such a safe country. I will say that I know it might be a concern for some people who are flying or going solo. The only thing you're really giving up is the fact that your tour guide is picking you up, and then on the day that you're supposed to leave, them dropping you off at the airport. Again, this is going to be up to you guys, but for me, knowing what I know now, I would have booked the flights myself, to save myself all that travel time, all that time lost. It was just really disappointing and annoying. Let's see. I would have also packed less. So I didn't know that all the hotels were going to have full-size shampoos and conditioners. This is not going to apply to everybody, but I have short hair. I don't really care what shampoo conditioner I use. I took full sizes, and I didn't use them out there because I was using their shampoo and conditioner. I assumed that they were going to have like the small travel sizes that over here, in the US, that most hotels give you, those crappy ones that you're trying to like smack the bottom from because it's stuck and doesn't want to come out. I thought that's what we're going to get. So again, that's not going to apply to everybody. I know a lot of people like are very finicky about what product you put in your hair. But I wouldn't have packed a shampoo and conditioner had I known that. I wouldn't have packed as many sweaters as I did. I wouldn't have packed as many pants and long sleeves because when I went in October, it was kind of the back end of summer. It was humid. It was hot. It did rain. I want to say it rained like 3 days Like the first week was when it rained like 3 days, but it didn't take away from the experience. We didn't have any issues with like not being able to do an excursion or anything like that, at least for our group. So overall, would I recommend EF as a travel agency and all of that? Short answer is yes. Okay. Because I've met people who are now my travel friends, not saying that I don't have friends, but this is a lot of money. Spending $3,000 to $5,000 to go on a trip, not everybody's willing to spend that, or like can really give you sometimes like a solid yes. And sometimes you have to make that decision for yourself, whether you want to wait for other people or should you just go on a trip with other people that already want to do it anyways. Like at least you have that in common, right? So overall, yes, I would recommend EF, but I just don't know the whole flight thing. If you're going to Japan, just book your flights yourself, okay? And if you don't, then I don't want to hear how long it took you to get home, all right? But overall, I would say yes. I find value in the fact that our tour guide is able to speak both languages. I don't speak Japanese. I try to learn Japanese on Duolingo, and I'm not fluent. You know, I think that was the main thing, my main fear of traveling to another country I don't know, or, you know, it's just the language barrier, right? Of course, we have Google Translator. That's very helpful, but still, I personally find a lot of value in having a travel guide. I got sick while I was out there. They were able to help me find the right medicine because everything is labeled differently. Everything is just, it's hard to find medicine out there, okay? It's not like you can just recognize the brand back at home. It's not like that. So I find a lot of value in that. I find value in the fact that I don't have to worry about transportation, right? So like when you're traveling from hotel to hotel or from shrine to temple or whatever it is that they have planned for the day, you don't have to worry about it, you know? And it's nice. It's super, super nice. I will say that it is a little bit, there's a specific day in here. But there's times where like I felt like lunch or breakfast, or I would say lunch wasn't really planned, and it would have been nice to like know kind of ahead of time. So like if you wanted to buy something from like 7-Eleven, because a lot of people were doing that, then you could have done that beforehand, versus like now you're in this station and like all they have is McDonald's and all these other restaurants, but you don't have time to sit in the restaurant because you have to go back on the bus. So there's minor things there where like it would have been nice to know beforehand, be like, hey, by the way, might as well just buy something at the market, because unless you want McDonald's, you don't have really much options, right? But those are really like minor, finicky little details. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Let's read reviews on the website. So this has 4.8. Looks like this person says, Mari was an incredible tour guide with extensive knowledge and willingness to share her culture with us. The extra optional tours were always well worth going to. Wish we had more time to explore Hiroshima, but other than that, the tour is well worth the time and money. I have to agree. So you only have one day or one day night at Hiroshima. I also had that. I actually said the same thing to my tour guide. My tour guide was not Mari, but I told her the same thing. I wish we had more time in Hiroshima. Let's see. This person says, Vivi was the most amazing tour director. She constantly had outside activities for us to do as a group and had the best recommendations. The recommendations were amazing. Japan is so rich in culture and was so lucky to see so much of Japan in just 2 weeks. I agree. But yeah, it looks like a lot of good reviews, right? I'm going to filter this to the lowest, because anytime I do research, I want to see what the bad reviews have to say, you know? So this one says, Japan was absolutely stunning to visit, and our tour director Mario was super sweet lady and extremely helpful. Recommendations varied, but they were mostly decent. EF though was a nightmare to deal with their flight itinerary was god awful. I would highly recommend booking this trip solo because you would be saving thousands of dollars and also wouldn't have to deal with EF's terrible customer service. It was actually surprising and amusing at one point on how bad and clueless their reps were. I wouldn't say that the reps were clueless, the ones that I spoke with, but I would agree that their flight itinerary is awful. I don't think I heard anyone saying, "Oh, I love my flight itinerary." Again, I understand that they're saving money, they're making money off of us, but yeah, if you're flying to Japan, trust me, just book them yourself. Let's see, this person, Japan was an amazing country to visit. It was very safe and easy to get around without knowing any Japanese. EF was great as well. And having Tasha on the trip was super helpful. Our tour guide, Hiro, was the sweetest man on earth. Unfortunately, just being kind does not make you a good tour guide. He was disorganized, so check-in at any hotel could either go smoothly or be a mess. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but I didn't have that tour guide, so I'm sorry for that person. Our tour guide was tasked to lead her first EF trip, a group of 44 people during peak tourism season. Because of these circumstances, there were persistent miscommunications and lack of group synergy. The trip felt very bare bones for the money I paid for, as there were few activities beyond EF itinerary. Also, there were a few travelers who treated Japan like an anime playground and were not cognizant of Japanese social customs, which were very annoying. Yeah, see, that's the thing that, like, I can recommend EF, but my experience, everyone's experience is going to be different because you're going with not the same group that I went with. I get along with everybody for the most part. Like, if like, I'm a fairly nice person. As long as you give me my space and don't bother me while I'm sleeping, like, I don't really have a problem with people. As far as, like, not being cognizant of Japanese social customs, I kind of wonder what... I wish they would have elaborated a little bit more on that. Like, I learned when I was out there that you're not supposed to eat while you're walking around in public. That's kind of why there aren't really any trash cans out there either. And there were people doing that. But again, I think it's because they didn't know. And I learned that while I was out there as well. So if you're going to Japan, I think you'll have a lot of people staring at you if you do that. So try not to, buy something from the supermarket and, like, eat and walk around because people are going to be looking at you. That is disrespectful. I mean, like, we're going to Japan, you're going to their country, you kind of want to be respectful, right? So I kind of see a little bit, at least I saw that in my group. I don't know if that's specifically what this person's talking about, but I see that. As far as, like, the anime stuff, I like anime. It's exciting to see. That's where anime is from, and I'm huge on that stuff. And Japan is as a country, so it's kind of hard to, like, I don't know exactly if I agree with the whole anime playground thing. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Schedule your own flights. Again, another person talking about flights, right? Our guide, Mirari, was amazing. However, the flights to Japan and back home are not in our favor. 4-hour layovers and flights in the middle of the day rather than early in the morning. There's only about 12 days for the trip, and every hour counts. People are often late to the bus or the train, which would delay our plans as a group. This is something that our tour guide could improve on. The hotels were hit or miss, some being close to a station and some being far away. I don't know if they changed the accommodations. I share my accommodations on my playlist because I vlogged the entire trip. So if there's more that you want to look into, I did vlog everything. I put all the accommodations on there based on the days. I don't think there were any hotels that were far from a station other than the Hakone one, because that one there's nothing to do anyways. It's known for its hot springs and everything. That town's mostly known for hot springs and spas and all that, so I'm not sure what this person's talking about that. I think they're talking something about here. Let's finish reading it. This is something I'm too going to move on. Let's see. Hiroshima and Hakone days trips were the best, and I wish we had more days for them. The group dinners weren't that good except for the last one. Would have liked a ramen or sushi group dinner at least once. A trip over 5,000. I expected EF to book better flights, dinners, and hotels, but they didn't do that well. So with the hotels, I looked it on Google, and most of the hotels you stay at are, I think, 3 or 4 stars. Now, they were all clean, okay? They're all clean. I don't really have any negative things to say about any of the accommodations that we stayed at. There was only one, I think it was the second place that we were staying at, that I wanted new towels. And I put the thing on the door for them to service the room, and they never did. But I think that's like one in who knows how many. But that's, again, finicky about... That's minor detail stuff, okay? So I don't really have complaints of the hotels. The food could be better, but again, like, it's hard to justify it because, you know, I'm used to the kind of breakfast stuff that we have here in the US. It's not going to be the same breakfast stuff that Japan has. So, like, the breakfast could have been better, but again, that's because I'm accustomed to what we have here. I was always eating eggs and sausages out there. But it wasn't like the end of the world. And again, like, if you don't want to eat that, you can go out and pay somewhere else. But again, like, I can see what they mean. Like, because you already paid $5,000. Again, it's nice to see kind of mixed reviews, right? So I'm not gonna go too much into everything. Looks like most of it has to do with flights, maybe accommodations. I can kind of agree that for once, there's so many free days. I didn't really pre-plan anything. I was just kind of winging it. So that's another thing I would have changed or would have planned differently, was to actually like plan something on the free days, because I was just really just window shopping for the most part. But yeah, that's about all I have for you guys. If you want to see my trip and see more, because I'm not trying to spoil anything, but like if you wanted to see more, or if you don't really care for spoilers, then you guys can check out my Japan playlist. I have everything on there. I even have a video of like everything that I bought and I brought back. Yeah, I hope this was helpful for any of you. And let me know if you guys end up going on the trip, and if you guys go, if you liked it, or if you agree with me or disagree with the whole flight situation, let me know. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.